just going to do a very quick tutorial that might just help you out with your front covers. I'm fitting to conventions more than anything. Hopefully what a lot of you would have seen as part of those conventions is a lot of magazines have their masthead sometimes sort of placed behind their main cover image. So it's been used in that sort of layer kind of way. And the reason why I'm just going to do something like that is it's a little bit more difficult in Lucid Press to really get that massively desired effect. So I'm just going to quickly show it you in Pixlr, maybe the most simplistic way to do. So you'll see sort of on screen now, you've got my image that I did of LG, show you in last week's lesson on some of the features in the software itself. So all I want you to do is just pop over to where it says create new. And from there you'll find that there's a range of different sort of templates that are given to you. What I want you to do is I just want you to click on the full HD to begin with. Give it a name of front cover so you know where you're working. And what I want you to do from there is, and this is the most important aspect of this to get this all set up, and obviously we need a canvas to work upon. But in the sort of credentials for the size, we're going to work in pixels, as you'll see where it says PX underneath. So it's important that we get these right to make sure that it's all fitting with the size. So in the width, you need to put 2,480, so that's 2480, and then in the height you need to put 3,508, so that's 3508. And if you then go down and you simply click on create, it will give you something that looks a little bit like this, pretty much an empty blank canvas, a transparent one as well. So if I just zoom out, you'll see a little bit more, and hopefully you've had a little bit of a play about with some of the tools that are over on this side, and the brushes and the strokes and the patch tools and blurs and sharpens, and importantly that we're going to come back to is using the lasso to be able to cut things out. Alrighty, so from there, what we're going to do is we're just going to start to build up our image itself. You'll see all these bits that we tried last week are all sort of darkened out because there's nothing that's in our canvas at the moment. So what you need to do first and foremost is you need to go on to layer, and then from there I just want you to go down to add image as layer. What that will do is hopefully open up your documents and where all of your images have saved that you did in last week's lessons, last Monday's lessons. From there, I just want you to choose the image that you're going to do. So you might be deciding to use your original images. I'm going to cop out big time because I'm not very photogenic and my pictures were absolutely horrendous. So I'm just going to go for this one of LG, and I'm just going to open that and it will place it into my canvas, as you can see. Now there's two options in terms of resizing from here. You've got your fixed and you've also got your free. If you leave it on fixed, it will keep everything in proportion like so, and it will just mean that you can work around it and you can fit everything into the size that you need, and then obviously get it so that it fits on the page itself. If I just undo that a little tiny bit and go back to the original, if you click on free, that will quite literally give you free reign and transform and how you put and place and resize your images, like so. You can go back to your fixed and it will sort of give everything in perspective that way, which is always a nice important thing to look at. But I'm just going to go back to free just so that I can manipulate it how I want. So that's pretty much how I want LG to look, maybe moving down a little tiny bit. And effectively that would be the base image, my main cover image for my front cover. So just zooming in a little tiny bit up here, and you will see from the right hand side now that we've got that background base layer where there's nothing in it, and we've also got this image of LG. From there, I'm going to go back over to the lasso tool. Now I said this week that you might have a preference over which lasso to go for. You might go for the free reign and go for the free transform and use it all however you want. You might go with the polygon where you kind of click and move and click and move and click and move all the way around the image. You might kind of go with the Bezier or also the magnetic where it will stick to pixels in your photograph. As you can see, my image isn't great in terms of the pixels. It's not the most clearest, it's not most clarity. So with this one in mind, I'm just going to go with free to speed things up. Normally, if I'm going to try and show things properly, I would have gone with the polygon, but I'm just going to go with the free just to give you a very quick tutorial on this so you can crack on and have a go yourself. So I'm going to start here, and I'm basically going to sort of draw around LG's head. It's never going to be epic because I'm rushing through it just to kind of save some time and give you the concepts and the idea. Okay, so we get our army of little white ants running around LG's head, and all you need to go from there, absolutely no rocket science in any shape or form, simply go to edit and then go to copy. Oh, sorry, make sure your layer selected from there. Make sure that you go to copy and it will say copy there, and then straight away back into edit and then pop down to paste. And straight away, it almost gives you a very Queen-esque music video, Bohemian Rhapsody look, where we have the multiple faces on screen. But the most important thing from here is that we have two layers that have been created with LG. So we have that original base layer, and we also have this layer here of his floating head. Remember, those little ticks will show you a preview with and without layers being turned on. So we're just going to go with that image there. And all I'm going to simply do, no rocket science again, I'm just going to try and match him up as perfectly as the underneath layer, which is my sort of base layer for my front cover. Click off and everything should be all right. So from there, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go back to layer, and I'm going to go back to add images layer. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm just going to pop back into my lesson 5. I'm going to go down to my Untitled 2. And you may remember when I did my production of Masthead and just did my little graphic and Masthead and my branding and my logo and my Masthead for my magazine. So all I'm going to do, I'm just going to drop that into the canvas itself, zoom out a little bit so we can see it. And as you'll see, it's pretty small from what I originally created last week. Now, I'm just going to sort of go back to fixed on this one because I want everything to stay in proportions as best as possible. And I'm just going to drag that out. And if you remember from my tutorial last week, the beauty of vector images is because they are graphics and because they are shapes, they very, very, very rarely pixelate. And that's why it's quite easy for us to be able to resize things in whatever sort of appropriate manner that we need. So I'm just going to fix it like this. You know, we might sort of rotate and stick it on its axes a little tiny bit, whack that in there, however it may be. Okay. And I'm just going to leave it in that position. Quite simply, from there, it's all about using your layers and just working upon top, and on top. And as many of you know, my sort of passion of the moment is good old Bob Ross and his painting. And he always talks about using his layers. And in painting, it works exactly the same sort of way as what it does with image manipulation, using your layers to build upon and build upon. So I'm simply just going to drag that layer and just pop it above that Untitled 2, which is obviously my graphic. And the big thing that you'll start to see here is the O and the P from my masthead has now just been dropped behind LG's head. All right. And that's simply how a lot of the time we work with those conventions. So using your image, cut out a section of that, go for a chunkier part as well because of the ways in which things might kind of work. And then you can all start to use your layers whichever way. So go back to the masthead that you created, put that into your magazine, and this is the way that I'm going to leave mine sort of be from there. Obviously, we're going to build all around the rest of the cover itself. It's going to be up to you whether you decide to do it all through using Pixlr, or whether you want to go into Lucidpress and start to build up your cover from there. As I said, it's all what works with you. The most important thing that you're doing as you're going along is that you keep taking your print screens of what's going on, all right? Because that is your production diary. You're going to talk about what you've done and why you've done it. And that is where 20 of your 60 marks are available, a maximum of 20 within your production diary. You've got LG's cut out head there. You could go into that, you could crop it down a little bit more if you wanted to. You could use a box to kind of go around that layer, and sometimes if you choose that, you can sometimes backspace it. All you see is chin just went slightly off there. That's me selecting that part of the image and just cutting it out. It's a simple way just to crop things down a little bit more, but it gives us more space here to be able to work around and create our front cover. Okay, so that's just a very simple basic thing on using your masthead and also using your lasso to cut out parts of your image to create multiple layers and build your magazine around it. I hope it was informative and sort of straightforward enough to be able to do as well. As always, any issues, just drop me a line and we'll go from there. Okay, everyone, give it a go, give it a blast and see what you feel. It might be your convention, you might decide to go with something different, but as always, it's completely up to you. Okay, guys, we'll catch up again soon. Cheers, thank you very much.